Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 101 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. I decided I liked 101 better than 101st episode. I don't know why, but anyway, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Are you feeling the relief you thought you'd feel with the onset of 2021? Is it everything you dreamed it would be? I'm saying it that way because judging from the temperature in the room, so to speak, I'm not sure it's off to such a great start. But I think I know why, and I also think I know a way to get around it. Each one of us has inside of us a set of powerful tools that if we use them properly, and we can, it will help us to make decisions from different viewpoints, giving us a huge edge on life. And if you hang out, I'm going to tell you what that is. Now, but first of all, I'm going to give you a little story that kind of gives you a taste of what I'm talking about. This last week, I was going on my regular run, and for whatever reason, I felt a little off. I'm sure you guys can relate. In fact, at one point, there was a voice in my head that was saying, okay, let's just walk. Why don't we just walk the rest of the way? But then I thought, okay, wait a minute. Nothing's in pain. I don't have any pain in my body. I mean, I wasn't physically needing to stop. So really, I was just mentally wanting to stop. Not really needing to, wanting to stop. And then my warrior mode kicked in and it said, no way. The only reason you want to walk is because it's easier and you're a little uncomfortable right now. So yeah, we're going to keep running. And in fact, we're going to run a little harder. And that's exactly what I did. It was super empowering. I loved it. Now, I generally try to focus on topics that are relevant. And right now it seems like we're kind of going through a little bit of a dark period for many reasons, right? I read a post someone wrote about the internet, and it said that we used to use the internet as a getaway from reality, and now we have to get away from the internet. I know I do, and I'm sure you probably have felt that way. And you probably think I'm going to say, oh, it's all social media's fault. It's all the news, the regular media's fault that we're in the state that we're in. But nope, I'm not going to let us blame it on them. And you know why? Because they only dish out what they know we're going to watch. I mean, they look at the statistics, they know what makes us tune in, and then they double it and triple it because that's how they stay in business. It would kind of be like us blaming McDonald's because we're overweight. And I think somebody actually has tried that. But they wouldn't be in business if we didn't need it. They know what makes us addicted, and they just keep making sure we're more and more addicted. There are a lot of reasons we can be addicted to McDonald's: the sugar, the salt, the fat content, but also the part of our brain likes the economy of cheap foods. And then the other part of our brain likes consistency. We know we can go to any McDonald's in the country, and the food's going to be really tasty and cheap. Now, what it does long term isn't so great. But that dopamine hit you are certain you're going to get, that's what you're after. And the news and social media do the same thing. We crave that dopamine hit we get from either a like or from seeing our side, whatever that is, winning, and the other side getting what we think is due to them, in a bad way, of course. And the news is only relevant because we make it so. I mean, most people that you guys listening to this podcast anyway are achievers. And you're always trying to make yourself better. And if my research is on point, you would never allow yourself to eat McDonald's every single day. Partly because you know what it does long term, but also because you're trying to keep a certain physical standard. You want to anyway. And that doesn't include McDonald's French fries every day. But are we applying the same standard to our mindset? And we may just be realizing the damaging consuming social media and the news all day can do to our sanity. You see, Happy Meals, they used to be little bitty, like tiny, if you look it up. Fast food meals right now are 4 times the size they were in the 1950s. It could even be more than that at this point. And what about the news? I mean, there didn't used to be 24-hour news, and of course, no social media. Our social outlets were face-to-face. Can you imagine talking to someone the way people talk to each other online? In most cases, people would never be that rude face to face. I mean, because we're human. The internet depersonalizes our interactions, so sometimes we just forget that that person that you're telling to get a life is actually someone's mom or dad or best friend or sister. And you may even actually like them if you were face to face with them, but you don't know them personally. So if it isn't the media's fault, then who can we blame? Well, I'm going to get a mirror out. I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to point at it. And I encourage you to do the same thing because that's who's to blame. We are each responsible for the choices that we make. There's no one else. And look, we're hardwired to want to steer our own life. Okay, we're hardwired to want to have freedom of choice, to make our own decisions. That's why America is so appealing to everyone. It's the idea that people are making their own choices. So if you feel like something's really off in your life, maybe you're letting someone else drive. Maybe you're letting someone else control your moods. So are you letting the news dictate the way your day goes, starting very first thing in the morning? Maybe you're living the life your mom and dad wanted you to live and you feel a little resentful. Maybe your friends are influencing you in ways that you wouldn't normally be influenced. And maybe, this is a big maybe, but probably very likely because I think everyone deals with this, social media might be causing you to look at your life like it's boring and non-consequential. Now, this is where I'm going to cut us all some slack, okay? Because some of these things are relatively new, so we're just learning the damage that it can do. For some, social media really does make them feel depressed. And for others, it makes them dislike people that have their different views, even family members. I don't remember a time when politics has ever been this toxic. I mean, it's the point now that it's affecting friendships and families and not in a good way. And we're better than that. For others, the 24-hour news, I mean, it gives them so much anxiety they can barely function. They're having to turn to drinking and eating and drugs just so they feel like they can endure it. Now, if any of these things are you or they feel familiar to you, maybe it's time for a reset. Our brains, they will be addicted to drama if we let them. I talk a lot about that. And hanging out on social media or watching the news, I mean, it could give us that temporary dopamine hit, but what is it doing to us long term? I mean, do we need to start viewing the internet like we do McDonald's? I mean, it's okay every once in a while, but we really should take in whole foods most of the time. The things that we feed our mind, they're as important, if not more, than the food we feed our body. And I have some really good news for us, though. I'm sure you're so happy to hear good news right now. We have a choice, and we aren't without tools to make that choice. Each one of us, we have helpers, and they're helpers that we control. Now, you may not realize it, or maybe you just haven't used them lately, and you're probably going, what in the world is she talking about? Well, here's what I know, and I was reminded this week by Tony Robbins. Everything you need is inside you right now. And I know sometimes you think about that, and you're like, yeah, right, but it is. You have to make the decisions that are tough. You have to make the decisions that create the life you want. No one else is going to do that for you. And sometimes they're hard to make, but you can make them and you have the tools. And that I have a really strong tool that I'm going to give you, and I'm going to share that with you right now. So just hang in there with me for a minute, because we all have 4 archetypes. And I say that word because I actually had to look it up, and that's what it's called. But I'm going to switch from archetypes to identities. So we have 4 identities inside of us, okay? And they're warrior, a king or a queen, a lover, and a magician. So the warrior gets things done no matter what, and sometimes you have to use force to do it. The warrior also takes action and desires clarity, so he knows exactly what needs to be done. The queen or the king takes everything and everyone into consideration as a whole and makes decisions from that place. They lead by example, and they're very clear, very wise. The magician is our place of creativity, problem solving, and thinking. They also are the ones that the one that guides us and keeps us safe, especially when we were children. And then we have the lover. The lover is our soft side, our ability to bond, to grow, to nurture, our ability to connect. So Why do I think this is so important and wonderful and helpful? Well, it's because we can make decisions differently based on which mode we're in. And we get to choose which mode we want to be in. So we don't always want to live in warrior mode or lover mode. Staying in lover mode might cause us to connect but not take action. When we need to make big decisions that involves others, putting on our queen or our king mode will help to take everything into consideration. It could also be helpful to be in queen mode if you're dealing with a difficult situation where you need to be pragmatic. And we each have different descriptions of the roles that these identities play. I mean, it'll be different for every one of us. When we use them in the best way possible, we become more powerful than we ever even imagined. But we can do things we never thought possible. I'll give you an example. When you're in work mode, you may be using your warrior identity. So you're getting things done, you're taking care of business, making things happen. And when you come home, if you stay in warrior mode, you burst through the door and you start barking orders and everyone's on edge because the warrior's home. But what if you left the warrior at the door and turned on your lover mode where you connect with your family? Or your magician mode where you help solve problems in a creative way? It could change everything for you. One of my other mentors, Brendan Burchard, suggests that you sit in your car for a few minutes when you get home so you breathe and just kind of decide who you're going to be when you walk through the door. Which identity are you going to take on when you greet your family? So let's say someone posts something on social media that you strongly disagree with. Queen mode might be helpful because they look at the entire situation and decide what's best for everyone rather than warrior mode where things could get a little testy. How about using magician mode when you're needing to guard yourself from certain things? You get creative and maybe do an inventory and mute or unfollow the accounts that make you feel bad about yourself. The queen may need to step in when it comes to how much time we spend watching the news, because this can affect our whole family. It isn't just us taking in the fear tactics and the crisis patrol. It's the kids too, and your spouse. And the queen knows what's best and takes it all into consideration for the household, not giving in to the thoughts in your head that want the drama. Doesn't matter why. Protecting our peace of mind is the most important thing right now. These are high-level moves and can be super powerful in your life. So my challenge to you this week, don't let your warrior make the decisions your lover should be making. Your magician is there to guide you and safeguard you, and when the queen makes an appearance, anything is possible. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.